Hi there, and welcome to another edition of TEMA Talk, the fast-paced, BS-free zone where entrepreneurs and business owners get together and share with you stories and insights designed to help you succeed. Today, like every episode I say, is very special because it is. As you can probably see, I've got my Kenya is Calling t-shirt on because we're going to fast forward 7 hours and we're going to speak to my friend Stephen Muriu in Nairobi, Kenya. Stephen, welcome.
Thank you very much, Carl. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you for giving up your time. Now, like all entrepreneurs, Stephen is a superhero. Sometimes he's an architect by profession, designs beautiful buildings and homes, but when he puts on his superhero outfit, he's actually an architect of people's mindset and passion because he's the founder and CEO of the Born to Lead Academy of Personal Development. Stephen is also the author of 2 books, Why Not Me, and also Turning Teardrops of Fate into Wells of Fortune. As all of you know out there, or many of you know out there, I have many friends and associates and clients in Kenya. So I thought it would be a good idea to get a different perspective from another country, from another culture, to see how it's affected them, because we often get so wrapped up in our own little world, and I totally get it, I understand, but it also helps if we get a different perspective. So, Stephen, welcome to the show again. I'm glad that you took some time to be with us. What's going on currently in Kenya? How's coronavirus? What's the current state in Kenya?
First of all, before I go into that, let me just tell you, thank you so much for that intro. You really make me feel like a superhero.
You are, man. You are. You are. You know you are.
That is awesome. Now, Kenya, we are doing well under the circumstances, I have to say. The government has enforced lockdowns, although not total, in 3 counties, actually 4 counties where the pandemic has struck and we have recorded some deaths. Though I have to admit, God has really protected this country. And I also want to say that the government has acted very, very appropriately. They stepped in to stop the international flights from coming here and from, going out. And that's somehow perhaps protected us from having a full-blown scenario, because we've only gotten about 9 deaths. And even though some people may be arguing that perhaps the testing has been not as much as in the first world, with the social media, I believe if we had bigger numbers than we are getting,
right,
we could be getting social media reports. And the fact that social media is quiet on it and it has nothing to do with being muted can only mean that the government measures that are being taken are effective to a good extent.
Right.
So the situation in Kenya is not too bad, but that doesn't mean we should sit on our laurels. We should just continue being vigilant and doing what we are doing best, like washing our hands 40 times a day.
Right. So has the Kenyan government put any programs in place to help businesses during this time? Has there been any special kind of funding or grants or things like that?
Well, yes, and some of the things I can point out that are really obviously helping businesses is the announcement by the government. Our president did go on air and say that he is going to cut some taxes. The government is going to cut taxes so that businesses don't suffer during this time. Mm-hmm. In some cases, they actually removed the taxes. And that, in a way, for me, is helping businesses. It's cushioning them so that they don't feel too pressed during this time. Mm-hmm. And also, they don't have to worry about paying taxes and paying their workers, that they can focus on what is more important at this time, paying the workers, which for me is a priority. Mm-hmm. And the government has also given some money to cushion SMEs. It's still work in progress. I think the release of that may take some time. But yes, the government has taken steps which for me are very good. I appreciate the steps.
Right. Okay.
Yes.
coronavirus globally has a very natural and understandable footprint. High density population, bigger the problem. Now, Kenya is a huge country, but you have concentrated areas of population, and clearly Nairobi is probably the biggest. Okay, so how has it affected local business in Nairobi?
A lot, because you see, the issue of social distancing, as you have rightly put it, is critical at this moment, because where you have many people together, closely together, that's how the spread is happening. So that has affected many businesses, because small scale businesses have had to close, albeit that some people are still daring enough, and despite the government directive, some of them are still doing these bad things. And we've seen police going in to try and keep order and make sure that the government directives are followed. But the direct answer to your question is, yes, it has affected a lot of businesses. And yes, people are in need of help. But I've seen the government also going out of its way to set aside money to help the very needy. The logistics of how that's happening is still not up to par, but at least the measures are there. So going forward, I think even those small business people will be taken care of by the government interventions.
Okay.
But yes, we have problems.
And of course, I experienced it more in Kenya than anywhere I think I've ever been in the world, that knock-on effect. So what happens in Nairobi spreads very quickly economically, the knock-on effect, things are bought centrally, then it gets distributed out to the rest of the country. So if Nairobi starts to grind to a standstill, then the country is very quickly going to grind to a standstill.
Very well said, Carl. And that's the biggest worry, because unlike a country like yours, where you have many capitals, business capitals, yes, in the different, what do you call them, states?
In the different states.
In our country, the main business capital is actually Nairobi.
Yes.
In fact, government is mainly concentrated there. We are only lucky now that prior to this, we had just enacted the Devolution Act. So we have counties, but still they haven't grown to the level where we can say that each county has a business capital. So that's going to be a problem. And that is why now the county governments have to really work hand in hand with the main government, the country government, the central government, so that those kind of knockdown on whatever trickle-down effects of the coronavirus can be cushioned by basically the partnerships of the county government and the central government. And our president, this is one time I have to say that politics has really been put on the back burner. There is no politics now. Everybody knows we are in this together, so we all have to come together and work as one big Kenya family. Yeah. And that, Carl, is happening. Good. I know going forward, we're going to see the results. I'm hoping this week, before the end of this week, we'll start hearing and seeing the product or the results of this collaboration, because it has to be a collaborative effort between the county government and the central government. And it's already happening.
Good. I've been saying for years that if you look at throughout history, it's entrepreneurs, small mid-market businesses that get countries out of any financial crisis. And I believe it's going to be the same here. It's not governments, it's not the big business, it's the small mid-market entrepreneurs and business owners that are usually the backbone of any economy that's going to push through and resolve any economic crisis. And I think it will probably be the same in Kenya too. I really do believe that. Because it all comes down to the small guy with that bit just pushing forward all the while.
That is very true, Carl, because if you think about it, I like drawing a parallel or an analogy with the ocean. As vast as the ocean is, it's just a collection of small drops.
Yeah.
If over a period of time, there was no more water going to the ocean, if you remove that drop by drop, within some time, there will be no ocean. That's a fact, though that is now maybe taking it to another dimension. But I agree with you, it's a small person, it's a small entrepreneurs who effectively affect how a country's economy operates. And let me tell you something that has happened since this corona thing came up. Because we are now not dependent on anyone, just like no country right now can say they are looking for their solution from outside. You've got to have your own homegrown solutions for now, in many ways. The country, Kenya, our country, we have had some very interesting happenings. Number one, Kenyatta University School of Medicine. They just came up with their own version of ventilators. They have invented ventilators, and they're just waiting for approval from the ministry, from the government, so to speak, so that they can go into mass production of that.
Right.
Who came up with these things? A group of 15 students with their lecturers, which is very much like what you are saying. The small people, the ideas from the ordinary person, they are what is going to move us forward. And these guys are saying that they can now, from next week after the approval, be in a position to produce 50 ventilators per week. That is good news for us.
Yeah.
Just the other day also, we heard about a county called Kitui, whose governor is a lady called Charity. Kitui, which for a long time has been like a dormant place, all of a sudden, the women who form the bulk of the SMEs there have now started, through the support of their governor, making masks, very unique masks. And they're producing about 30,000 a year per day. That's huge.
That's huge.
That's huge.
Yeah.
And then just today, I heard about another county called Makueni, which is neighboring Kitui. The governor there and his team have come up with what they're calling a COVID center. I'm yet to understand the real details, but the long and short of it is they have come up with a system of not just educating people, but equipping them in a way that they are able to deal with the aftermath of corona. They're coming up with like a prototype of education for aftermath of corona, which I think is a good thing. So they're already thinking post this period.
Yes, I think the consensus over here seems to be going very much towards the fact that this whole thing is going to be with us for at least the next 18 months, maybe 2 years. Not in terms of our isolation and the cessation, if you like, of regular business, but the fact that afterwards we are going to have perhaps immunizations, perhaps testing, excuse me, and so there will be a longer knock-on effect. I think that rules and regulations will be introduced in terms of personnel law. So I think companies are going to have to be required to have a social health, a personal hygiene policy in place at work that addresses things like, are you required to wear a mask now as normal? Is working from home going to become the normal? So I think like you said, the knock-on effect, the long term, I think it's going to be with us for quite some time.
True.
Okay. So, Stephen, the Born to Lead Academy, usually, if you like, classroom-based, right? You have a gathering of people in a room. Clearly, how's it affected you? How's it affected your business?
Carl, that's perhaps the best question you could have asked, because at a very selfish level, I have to say that this coronavirus has really affected me.
Right.
Because one of the things I have resisted doing in the past was to get my classes online, because I do love being with people in a classroom. Yeah. And the other day I was setting up Zoom classes. Yes, there you go. I was trying to tell the current students that were there before these things stopped us from going to class. And I was trying to tell them we're going online, because I have set up now an online platform. The ones who are already there saying, no, we don't care how long this is going to take. We love your presence. We love your stories. We want you. Your presence makes us feel much better. And, you know, of course, that tells us that we as human beings, and I guess we as Kenyans, don't like change very much. There is nothing as difficult to adapt to as change. Unfortunately, what this has taught me, because I feel it has really affected me, is that going forward, there's no way we are going to avoid the being online.
Right.
Being online has to be the new normal, as you say.
Yeah.
We cannot avoid it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start the classes this Thursday.
Yeah.
We'll be using Zoom. I know it's not the same, but nothing is the same.
No.
Nothing is going to remain the same. So we've got to go with the change, and we have to adapt and just know it's going to be our new normal. So it has affected me in that sense, because I have not trained since, I think, 3 weeks ago.
Right.
Yeah.
But there's the upside now. So now if you were to have a class of, let's say, 15 or 20 people, you could potentially now have, 100 people all online, all at the same time. And you can break things down, because eventually we are going to come out again. We're going to come out of hibernation, right?
Yeah.
And so you can have a part of the program that could be online, and then you could have localized super classes that bring everybody together. So I think it's just a thought. You're quite right. It's the way we think that has to change, and people are uncomfortable with change because we get very comfortable, don't we? We get in a happy place and we like to stay there. But life is forever changing. It's not just coronavirus. The world is changing all of the time. And I just think that all this has done is just accelerated a certain process. That's all it's done.
That is very true. In fact, it's Peter Drucker who said we are living at a time of accelerated change and very many complexities. Yeah. And we just have to deal with it. It's what it is. Yeah. We can't change that. We can't change. Right. We just have to go with the flow.
Right.
So yes, I agree with you absolutely. We don't have a choice. Right. We have to go with the change. Right. Otherwise, we'll be left behind and we'll become irrelevant.
Yeah. And the most important thing is always you have to stay relevant. You have to stay in focus. You have to stay visible, and you have to stay relevant. Interesting. A quick detour here. We've touched on Zoom. We're using Zoom now. You said you're about to engage Zoom. You might be interested to know that I've had interviews with people literally just relatively a few hundred miles away. Mm-hmm. And the connection and the picture has been terrible. This is as near to perfect as it's going to get. Now, I hope I haven't jinxed. I hope I haven't woken up the Zoom gods and are now going to freeze the screen and break it all down. But this is an excellent collection.
Are you talking about this one between you and me?
Yes.
Wow.
It's as you could be sitting in the next room. It's as perfect as it's going to get. It's as perfect.
That gets me excited. I hope going forward when I start the class, it's going to go the same. Please leave your mojo here. We have classes.
The Mr. Gibbons mojo. All right, we got it. All right. So how do you think business will change in Kenya after the pandemic?
In more ways than one, I think businesses will change in the sense of how they operate. And, embracing technology is definitely going to happen in all the businesses. If anyone wants to remain relevant, if anyone wants to remain visible, they have to embrace technology. There is nothing that would dissuade me otherwise, or persuade me, otherwise. So we're going to have to embrace technology, but also going forward, to me, the positive things that this thing has brought out is the need to value people. With what is happening, I think the emotional side of humanity has come out clearly. And you could be talking to a person like we're talking now, and the next minute they are not there. It's not like that's a new phenomenon. It's always been there. But now, the fact that we are not even able to bury our loved ones, we're not even able, in some cases, to even go and shake their hands or even be in the same space, that has to change fundamentally how we treat our employees, how we treat people generally. Businesses are going to become more human because you never know what's going to happen tomorrow.
Right. Well,
and I think that to me is key, because anyone who wants to grow knows the best investment you can make is investment in people.
In people, absolutely.
Those companies that were not valuing their employees highly, they have to know that's your greatest asset. You've got to be human to your employees. They determine so much. Because now, without the employees, the rooms are just empty. They are ghost spaces.
Yep.
So even if we think about the bottom line being profits, we know there are people who make that profit for us. It's the employees. It's our people.
Well said.
We've got to take care of you. And I think those two ways are key for me. There may be other things, but I have just said technology must be embraced by everyone. Number two, people must value people. That's the greatest capital we have in any business.
And people do business with people. Machines
Yes.
don't do business with machines. It's people that do business with people. So I couldn't agree with you more. So I want to take a slightly different shift now, and I want to find out a little bit more about Stephen. What makes Stephen tick? What pushes Stephen's buttons? So I'm going to ask you some quick questions, and just give me the first answer that comes into your head. What's the best piece of business advice you've ever been given?
The best piece of business advice I've ever been given is to learn how to separate business money from personal money. Because when I set out, Carl, I never knew what was business money, what was personal money. Every money that came to me was just my money. And that landed me into a lot of problems. Okay. So the person who taught me how to separate business money from personal money, I must say, may God continue richly blessing him. Because that was the beginning of my understanding of what I was doing wrong.
If there's anybody watching this out there now in Kenya or in the United States that are thinking of starting a new business, where do you think they should focus the most of their time to start off with? If they're opening a new business, where should they focus their time?
Anyone who is focusing on new business would not go wrong if they are thinking technology, if they are thinking, you know, people need things. If you can find out necessities, if you can operate in a line which is a necessity. Because I was telling people yesterday online that personal branding now has to be turning yourself into an essential service provider. You've got to turn your craft into an essential service. Now, essential service, of course, that's a broad term, but you are talking about businesses going online without any exception. So if anyone can get into technology business, that is definitely going to be a tick. If anyone can get into service in terms of hospitality, delivery to homes and to offices, we don't have enough of them, I know, in Kenya. That's going to be another area. I have seen already somebody who's come up with 100 motorbikes as we speak to deliver things from supermarkets, from the few hotels that are still operational, to homes, to the offices, because you can just walk into a restaurant. And
it's the entrepreneur again, right? It's that small guy that's making that huge difference.
Yes.
So, Stephen, sometimes we all have those feelings of self-doubt or that imposter syndrome, you know, that little guy sitting on your shoulder telling you, shouldn't do that, Steve. How do you get past that? How does Stephen deal with self-doubt?
I always remember the greatest advice given to me by my mother. You're a child of God. Anytime you feel like you are not worthy, just remember you are a prince and your father owns everything in this world. So just go to him in prayer and tell him what you need. Okay. So what gets me back is prayer. I am a guy who loves prayer. Okay. So I feel like I'm going off, I pray.
Which words or phrases do you most overuse?
You're great, Carl. I love telling people that. In fact, one day, Facebook just told me I had used the word great like over 5,000 times. I love telling people they are great because I like bringing the best out of people. And I like making people feel good about themselves. That's why I'm an architect of people's mindsets. Because if you can feel good or great about yourself, you will always be able to do good. Okay. Good begets good.
What book are you currently reading?
The 5 a.m. Club by Robin Sharma.
Right. Excellent book. Excellent book.
Yes.
If you have a song or a tune that you want that motivates you, that gets you hyped before you're
Yes.
about to go and give a presentation or go on stage or teach a class, what's that song or tune?
Let me tell you the biggest song in my life, and it's been for a long time because of perhaps the history you don't know about me. I grew up in a very humble background. For us, even getting out of that kind of setup to be what I am today was something of a dream. And I love the song Amazing Grace because it speaks to my soul.
Okay.
And when I read about how it was composed, it spoke even more to my soul. So that's the song I would say always brings out the best. It also keeps me rooted. I keep knowing where I came from.
Okay.
And I keep knowing that I'm just human.
Yep. What other talent would you like to have?
What other talent would I like to have?
Yep.
I want to know how to play certain musical instruments. I actually want to enroll for a piano class after this.
Okay.
I really want to be playing music because I love music, but I'm not a good singer. But even if I'm not a good singer, I can be a good instrumentalist.
Okay.
So if I can learn how to play the piano, I'll be great.
What's Stephen's greatest extravagance?
Sorry?
When he treats himself, what's Stephen's extravagance? What's his biggest extravagance? What does he like to treat himself to?
Steve loves going to the spa a lot. And occasionally he would indulge in a nice sports massage and a good glass of wine.
There you go.
Yes.
Does Stephen want to be in control or in charge?
To a large extent, yes. Steve loves control, but Steve is not always in control, but he loves being in control.
Okay. All right. Last one.
Yes.
If this interview could connect you with anybody in the world, king, queen, prince, pauper, potentate, whoever, if there's one person that you want to what hopes watching this program and will connect with you, who would it be?
Absolutely, without a doubt, Roger Federer.
Roger, call him. Game of tennis. Roger, call him immediately. This program's over. You got it? Roger, call him. See?
Really?
I've made it work for you.
Thank you. Thank you, Carl.
It's my pleasure. Well, that's it. Another 30 minutes of business banter and badinage has come to an end. Thanks to our guest, Stephen Muriu, all the way from Kenya. I know it's 4, 5 o'clock in the afternoon out there now.
About 20 minutes too.
There you go. I want to thank the team at Guerilla Media for making this happen and working their magic. And of course, I want to thank you for listening and watching. And don't forget to go to TEMA's Video Vault of Wisdom at thirdeyemanagement.com, where we share all the other TEMA Talk episodes with strategies and tactics on how to grow your business. So until the next time we meet again, I want you all to stay safe. I want you to stay happy. I want you to stay in touch. And I want you to stay profitable. And with that, we're out. Take care.